Fights reveal futilities. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and Malcolm X was assassinated. Robert Kennedy was assassinated. Stephen Biko was assassinated. Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. And what was the purpose of it? We so readily forget the long list of assassinations which dot the emergence of new power relationships and the ends of self-assured textbook paragraphs. This violence is still shown to us in grainy loops, the stuff of nostalgic mood boards, inflected with the better parts of yesteryear. It is presented often as the precursor to a wise peace, a new understanding, a moment of reckoning, a needed change. Not per se justified, in fact, terrifying, a marker of the difference between who we were and who we are now, how good we have it. But new days bring shattering new images, flickering across TV screens, the building of power unconstrained by agreements long thought settled. A hunger for some version of this place, of every place, unmarred by the complicated negotiations of power that characterize a functioning democracy. And as a student, however informally, and perhaps incompletely, of the black political canon, I cannot with any seriousness say that their tactics hold little hope of characterizing what the years to come will look like for us all. While I do not welcome violence as a contributing factor in political change, I would be a fantasist to not acknowledge the ways it has shaped my life. As a black American, born fewer than 130 years from the end of our last Civil War, I cannot avoid the differences my life has from that of my own ancestors, who were brought to this country against their will by actors stridently committed to wielding violence toward the very political project of constructing an empire, a financial system, a cadre of industries, an ever-growing influence globally, and soft power to match. A difference, I would underscore, that was not the result of charity, but of the grisly shot-by-shot establishment of an army comprised substantially of thousands of formerly enslaved black people, a contingent of the force that knew clearer perhaps than any other the meaning of freedom. But like all of our repeating tendencies, the wheels return around and around to some short-lived effect, if not some ultimate solace. Fights reveal futilities, edges they cannot push beyond, ever-fleeting horizons of a better next time, ever better, purer ways to wield the same old tools to the same old ends that never seem to go to plan. Perhaps most notably, there is always greater violence that can be found, leveraged subtly and overtly, sometimes in states redubbing the same colonial relationships in postmodern terms, sometimes in the nooks and crannies of a society thought to have moved beyond its most literally fatal flaws, those spaces untouched and unmotivated by an appeal to a propriety so unyielding as to potentially include everyone and yet include no one at all. The simmer of generational resentment prevents any battle from being finished for too long. Instead, old fights are driven merely underground, for long enough to make a claim of victory and leverage it for whatever political currency it will yield. Nat Turner understood violence, its efficacy in liberating the bodies, however briefly, of some black people. Martin Luther King understood violence, the swiftness with which it can discard the veil of its own pacifism when challenged with truly radical change, the opportunity to liberate the bodies of many more black people, hopefully more durably, in uncovering it, showing that violence to itself. And 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, and 21 hours after we were shown to ourselves, why does the specter of political violence still loom so large in America today? Why larger for me, perhaps, than you? How are we to accept a peace so fragile that it feels instead like a prelude to war? Has it always felt this way? A slowly and persistently heightening terror, a bubbling of irresolvable tensions, a yawning yearn for some new age to emerge, and some final swift disjuncture which makes imaginable what was not before. Is this the fear that met Nat Turner the night before the first neck was slit? If so, which side of this disjuncture do we sit on today? Are we at the end of history, or does it lie waiting for us still? As I see it, what stands between the sure destruction that a minority of people would readily wage over me, over many of us here, is the willingness of others among us, who we would hope to count among our allies, to put their bodies between us and them, to determine it worth risking, really risking themselves, the peace they could easily recede into, to be in the project of equal citizenship with us. It is a zeal I have not seen as often as I would hope, but hope still persists. And who knows, maybe I'm speaking from within a perspective that no measure of education, exposure, or carefully accumulated knowledge can allow me to see beyond.
Some days my rage keeps me locked inside. Some days my rage makes me wanna cry. Most days my rage ain't far from its high. Most days my place in all this makes me up at night. I don't know what's right, but I'm on the rise. Ain't that half the fun? In our modern times I've pined for, and I've trusted in things I can't see. A lover, a friend that I've yet to meet. A small hope you might quell this rage in me. But I tend not to ask for the things I really need. 'Cause most days by my count, it's been too long now. I don't wanna waste my life contending with power. And my rage is there, baby, when I bottom out. Most days the rage that's there threatens to devour. And my rage won't be assuaged by sweet taste that's sour. My rage won't be contained by sweet taste that's sour. You claim it's grass that's green. You claim your hands are clean. You say you never scheme, just care about ends about me. You say to toss my hope out upon your sea. Your land and your world all built on belief. The same ocean you cross poaching people like me. Each one had hopes and dreams. You know the rage I mean. I don't know if I can let it go. I don't know if I can let it go. If I can let it go. When it's all I've known,